Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Classroom to Corner Office Career Talks with Chris. This is a podcast created to provide hints, tips, and tricks for those entering the workforce or even those that are already there to support their career journeys and help position them to reach those career goals by learning from those that have lived it, both the good and the bad. We are joined today by Danny, who's currently a marketing manager, website developer, while also heading up his own company, D23 Digital Creatives.
Mhm.
Thanks for taking time to be here with us today, Danny, to discuss your career journey and everything that's happened in a relatively short period of time for you.
Yeah.
So, we try to get people in different stages of their career
Mhm.
development, different stages of their career. So it'll be unique and great to hear what you've learned in a few short years. So while you are relatively early on in that career journey, why don't you just take us through what you're into now, and what that has looked like and what some of those learning moments have been since the time you graduated from college.
Yeah, that's a great intro, Chris.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Danny Schultz, and I graduated from West Liberty with my bachelor's in marketing and my master's in management. And since then, after I graduated, I got a job working as a remote marketing manager for the Painting Contracting Association. As you can see, all the magazines behind me is the company, and that is what I've been doing for the last 2 years. It's an intense workload because we have a very small team, a team of 3, and I kind of play multiple different roles. I am the full-time website developer on top of the full-time marketing manager, and it is fully remote. So it has definitely been an adjustment doing full-time remote. No one's looking over your shoulder. It's kind of all on you. And on top of doing all of that, yes, I have my own business. It is called D23 Digital Creatives. I've had this business for about 3 years, and it's kind of morphed into website development now. I first started it as a social media management company, and I am completely self-taught. I didn't do any website design or graphic design in college. I kind of just have been self-taught, and that's what I'm doing on the side on top of my marketing role. So that's kind of what I'm up to nowadays. So yeah.
All right. So you said right now in your full-time role, you're part of a
Mhm.
small team.
Mhm.
Do you think that that has significantly helped your development within this industry area since you have had to probably take on, we'll say, a range of projects and tasks
Mhm.
as opposed to being very focused on one thing?
Yes, I think the biggest thing that has helped me the most is I probably have one of the best bosses that I could have fallen into. He's been a humongous mentor towards me, and I think that has helped me a lot because he's asked me to play multiple different roles, but on top of that, he knows I'm going to make mistakes, and he's very okay with me making mistakes. So that's how we learn. So having that boss like guide me to where I'm at today has been a humongous help, and it has been sometimes it's frustrating when you're doing all of these different roles because there's so much work, but it's almost relieving in a way because I know what needs to be done and I know exactly what roles need to be played. So I personally like being with a small team, and I think it's actually helped me in my professional development. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and you said you have a great boss, right? We all aspire to that and hope for that, especially when you're coming into those first roles.
Hmm.
Um, what was your I don't know if you had any trepidation or you were concerned about what that relationship would be like with your first boss in a full-time role post grad.
Yeah.
I remember when I was going, through those application interview processes, that was one thing that really, like, I just didn't know how to approach it.
Hmm.
So what were kind of your feelings going into that? Were you concerned, worried? I want to say fearful is probably a bit of a dramatization or overreaction to that, but
Hmm.
how did you feel going into that about what that relationship could or would be with a supervisor?
Yeah. So I actually have a little story before I landed this role. The second I graduated, I was like everyone, I applied to every single job humanly possible. And I got an interview for a company. It was a media company, and the role was social media strategist. So it was kind of like social media management. And as I was getting more into the role, I was offered the role, and was looking at the reviews online, which I don't recommend any. Well, I do recommend you do it because in hindsight, if I would have done it, it probably would have saved me a lot of trouble. But the reviews were terrible. There were hundreds upon hundreds of bad reviews with the company. And when I did the when I got offered the role, and as I was getting into the role itself, it was not a social media role. It was a journalist role where you did like you posted the posts on Facebook, and it was a very cookie cutter role where it was almost like a robot thing where it was like cut paste post 9 to 5 all day, and I was micromanaged more than I ever thought I could be. It was a really hard learning lesson because the staff and my bosses around me were just very demeaning and very rude. And it was definitely frustrating because I was like, is this what life is like post college? I was like, this isn't fun. And I was at the job for a month and I was miserable. And I really was like, I don't have to do this job if I don't want to do it. And I ended up putting in my 2 weeks, and I'm very happy that I did it within a month. I think more people need to do that if it's not the right fit. And then a month later, I am at the job that I'm at now. I got the interview with my boss, and I was very upfront with him in the interview. I was like, look, I had a really bad experience. Please be honest with me. I don't want to waste any of our times. And our interview was over an hour long, and we were just very conversational and just it was great. So I'm very happy that that happened because it gave me two perspectives, because now I know what it's like to not have the great boss that I
Yeah.
have. So I'm kind of grateful that it happened. But yeah, that's what I went through. So yeah.
Yeah. So you went through, you said initially applying to everything,
Hmm.
open to anything. Um, in hindsight, obviously you went through interview processes a little bit
Hmm.
differently in that second time around. What would be some of your advice to be in new grads,
Yeah.
kind of navigating that application process? Did you do anything differently about focusing in on certain roles, or did you just do more research into companies? What did
Yeah.
that look like after learning from that first experience?
Yeah, so when I was applying for roles, I completely was not even into website development yet. So I was just
Mhm.
straight marketing, and a lot of people will tell you that you need experience, but you can't get experience if you don't get a job. So that's
Right.
like the hardest thing where it's just at at that point, the biggest thing that I did, I feel like there's two big platforms, LinkedIn and Indeed. Obviously, I feel like LinkedIn is definitely one that you could get lost in the shuffle. I found my job on Indeed, and
Mhm.
I was really only applying to marketing roles, and I I had my resume really good, and I think the thing that made me kind of stand out a little bit is the fact that I do my own company. So I was able to show my portfolio of all the work I did for social media clients and things like that. So I think that gave me kind of an edge. I think obviously having a master's degree, the credentials are good as well, but I think the biggest thing, my advice is find the platform. For me, it's Indeed, but LinkedIn can be a good place as well, but don't just easy apply and be done with it. I think the biggest thing is finding the company, finding the hiring manager, following them, sending them a connection request, and just messaging them saying, hey, I'm very interested, in this role. And I think that will get you to stand out more than just being one of 50,000 resumes. So yeah.
Yeah. That quick apply function is definitely convenient.
Yeah.
But like you said, you may be one of
Yeah.
tens of thousands of people that are doing that all at once. And I know something that I talk about from my own experience, and something I've learned from others is
Hmm.
it's doing that research. You find a job opening, whether that's on Indeed, LinkedIn, any of
Hmm.
those platforms, go to a company website, right?
Hmm.
See actually what the opportunities are to apply directly through maybe their website,
Yes.
because ultimately those LinkedIn and Indeed links are probably going back to a company website within their repository of applicants and everything like that.
Yes.
So their applicant tracking system. So I've always found that to be we'll say a useful and efficient way, not only to find them, but then to
Hmm.
make sure it's not lost in a sea of materials.
Hmm. For
So that's
sure.
good. No, that's a good
Yes.
thought there, that you're, because most people I talk to have, especially looking for professional roles,
Hmm.
usually find more success in LinkedIn versus Indeed. So
Really?
I'm glad to hear that.
Wow.
I can say more that, okay, make sure it's a good fit for you, but Indeed is also an option.
Yeah. I actually got both my interviews from Indeed. So I don't know if I was just an outlier, but I really like that you brought up about the website as well. If I'm very interested, like I was really interested in this role, so
Mhm.
I did go on the website. I did see if I could contact via email and things
Mhm.
like that, and I think that definitely makes you stand out. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And you said this is a remote role, correct?
Yes. fully remote.
What was that transition like for you?
Yeah.
Because your expectation is probably looking at more for an office type, whether or not you're 9 to
Mhm.
5, Monday through Friday, having more of an office setting. So,
Yes.
was that a mental hurdle for you initially, and how did you transition into that?
I think the biggest thing that kind of benefited me is my company, my business, my personal business is completely remote, and I think me really doing my college in the COVID era kind of flipped a switch with me with being remote.
Mhm,
The first role I was offered that was kind of just not a good fit, it was completely remote. And the way that they went about it was they had something called Slack and Teams where they constantly were checking to make sure you were online. And it was pressure in a lot of ways. And with this position that I'm in now, I don't have that. My boss, I am a salaried employee from 9 to 5. My boss has said multiple times, look, I trust you. I hired you to do a role. I don't care if you do your work at 9 o'clock. If I 9 o'clock at night, I know when to get the work done. And he's like, as long as I'm getting results and, we're communicating, I'm okay with when you do that. And I think a lot of people love working remote and it's a good theory, but actually doing it takes a very, very self disciplined person. I know a lot of people that can't do it because they don't like sitting in their room all day. But I have a very good, I separate work from personal. So I think having like I have a section off area of my house that's completely work related, no TV, no nothing. It's just an office. And I think having that on top of my boss being able to trust me, giving me the freedom that I need, I feel like I'm in a very lucky role because not a lot of people have that kind of freedom that I have. But it's a lot of self-discipline because if you don't get the work done, it's only on you. There's no boss hovering over you. There's no teacher, there's no professor saying, "Hey, make sure you get your work done." It's all on you or you're going to get in trouble with your job. So, definitely a big adjustment, but I really do think that between my business in the COVID era, I'm I now am at the point I don't think I could go to an office. I think
okay,
I am
yeah.
because of I feel like I'm more productive remote than I would be in an office because I feel just how I've been doing it for so long. I've been doing it for 3 years now. That's the way I think I am now. So yeah.
Yeah, in your space, like you said, you have a space
Hmm.
sectioned off. Your space is set up to accommodate your needs in a
Hmm.
remote role.
Hmm.
I draw a little bit from some of my background, which is learning and academic supports and students that were struggling, especially
Hmm.
during some of those COVID era course in the way that they were facilitated, and even students that are looking to get ahead or help catch up after a bad semester, taking a lot of
Hmm.
courses, we'll say online in the summer.
Hmm.
They would come to me and say, "I know this is going to be a struggle for me. I'm not a fan of online classes, but it's a necessary evil right
Hmm.
now. What can I do?" And some of my first things were to be like, "Okay, I want you to put together a list of 5 or 6 locations, whether that's
Hmm.
locations in a house, in an apartment, outside of an apartment, in your local area, in places where you think you can actually sit down and focus for more
Hmm.
than 20 minutes. And you may have to rotate 2 or 3, 4 times a day to get your work done, but
Hmm.
the more that you find those environments that allow you to be focused and work on that, the more you're gonna get out of that time.
Hmm.
So, for people doing remote work, it seems a similar thought of, "I need to have a space that allows me to be focused and work through this." So, I'm glad you found that because
Yeah.
uh, I would say some people don't experience that
Hmm.
ability and success.
Yes. Yes. That is my boss has said that multiple times that he's had previous people in his 30 year because he's been working remote for 30 years. So
Oh,
he's
wow.
had a lot of experience with it. I think what's interesting as well is I feel like with my personal business, it's kind of been a better thing being fully remote because I am able to literally deliver like a website to a client completely with just like them texting me a little bit and then boom, I'm able to deliver it. So it's convenient. And I think one of the first struggles I had is when I first got the job, I was still living in my parents' house. So I
Mhm,
didn't have the luxury. So I was in my room. So what I was doing was literally at my desk all day. And then I would just have like some leisure time after still at my desk. So I'm like,
mhm.
I couldn't separate it. So I did a thing with the curtains. I would open up the curtains during the day and I would close them at night, but it was a struggle. So definitely it's not, it's for the self-disciplined, I would say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. Now, you said, right now you're more into the website development, whether
Hmm.
that's for your own personal business or for your full-time role.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's not something that you had the skill or certifications or anything beforehand. So,
Yeah.
for those that are interested in exploring spaces where they don't have that knowledge or don't have that skill developed yet, what are maybe some of your recommendations of this is how you can acquire those skills? This is how you can, whether it's looking online for courses or
Hmm.
whatever you did. Can you explain a
Hmm.
little bit about how you acquired that so that you could move forward into searching for job opportunities that applied that skill?
Yes, for sure. I think for me, I feel like when I was learning in college doing marketing, I feel like marketing is like the business hub, I feel, because there's so many areas in business that utilize marketing. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's how I stumbled into website development. I was doing my full-time marketing manager role for APC, and the website was on a foreign platform. So there was a lot of it was outdated, and it was crashing a lot. And pretty much how our company operates is I post articles from the magazine on social media, driving them to the internet, like to the website,
Mhm.
and I can't really drive and market it if it keeps crashing.
Right.
And my boss quoted someone, and they were going to spend $25,000 to rebuild the whole website. I'm like, that's a little pricey. So I talked to him a little bit about it, and I was like, I think I can do it on top of my marketing role, and I think I could build it. So I ended up. It took me 6 months, and I was completely self taught. I had no idea what I was doing when I got into it. This website that I built is one of the largest I think I will ever build. It had like 20 years worth of articles and podcasts, and the data was insane. And I built the entire thing for $500. So I think that was huge. And because it just, if anything, it gave me a skill. I think the one thing that I would recommend is I didn't, since I was so new and I was learning, I didn't really outline compensation. So I pretty much did everything for free. And now
Yeah.
I'm doing a second role with the same pay difference I would be doing if I didn't do it. So I think, yes, it gave me humongous value because I loved doing it so much. Now I'm just doing it as my full-time business or
Mhm.
my part-time business is doing website development. So I would say just try things and don't say no. Like I never, ever, ever would have thought in college when I was doing marketing, I would be doing graphic design, logo stuff, and website ever. I'm not very artistic and creative, but once I started doing it, I just fell in love with the process of it. So definitely try because it can also expand your marketplace because now I feel like I could do almost any website job
Yeah,
because of
and you
that.
have a
So yeah.
live website to point people to and be like, "This
Hmm.
is" again, you said one of the largest you'll probably ever build.
Yep.
It's already there.
Hmm. Yep. It's there and it's there for a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. No, and that I think that it's very well said, and don't be afraid to get into something different, especially if you have a good working relationship and people understand,
Hmm.
here's some of the limitations and challenges I may have, but in reality, what do you wanna pay? 25 grand? Or and I know you said a little bit about thinking through, in hindsight, I could have maybe added on to my
Yeah.
current contract or got something out of that.
Hmm.
Great, but you've also built the skill that you can then capitalize on the back end,
Yes.
and like you said, use this as a live example of what you've built,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly.
It's not a theoretical link that you send somebody.
Mm-mm.
It is a live acting website that people can go to, click through, and see everything that you've built out on it.
Mhm.
So that's good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, as a marketing major, I know you went through management,
Yeah.
in a graduate program. What was kind of that expectation versus the reality of getting into the marketing world? I know you talked a little bit
Yeah.
about that first job, and it was, pretty mundane and copy paste and
Yeah.
transactional.
Yeah.
As you've transitioned in this current role
Mhm.
in some of what you do in your own personal business,
Yeah.
how has that changed in the expectation versus the reality?
Yeah. I think going into the role, I I feel like I've always been really good at social media marketing. That was one where I was like, "I got this. I've been doing this for a long time." Um, that was kind of the big thing I had going into the job. But then very early on in the job, I was met with a lot of things I had to learn. I did not know email marketing at all. I feel that was something I was when I was offered the role and I started doing the position, I had to completely migrate email softwares because they wanted another one for the new regime of the company. And the data, we had over 50,000 email subscribers. So figuring out how to transfer all of that and understanding email marketing and HTML code, it took me like 3 months to do, and it was stressful. And I think there was just a lot of things I had to learn on my own that I was not ready to do. And I think in general, email marketing that's one of the main drivers of our business is email marketing. I think there's just so many aspects to it. There's social media marketing, there's print, there's billboards, there's so many different layers of it. And I think the way that I learned how to do it, if you were to give me a book about it in college to read it all, I would not have been able to process what I
Yeah.
like. It's being into it, actually seeing, okay, I have to do this, this, and this. And I think the other thing too is metrics. I think I didn't think of how important they were. They're not just statistics. It's, are you improving every month? Are you regressing every month? How are you doing? Like, are you growing or are you not growing? So I think learning all of that pretty early on, like week one, I was a little overwhelmed, but I'm to the point now I feel good that I had to go through all of that, because now I feel like there's nothing I can't do because now I'm familiar with everything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll say for students that are marketing majors or aspiring marketers in their undergraduate careers, what's one piece of advice you would encourage them to do, we'll say in those final 2 years, because it is such a broad, there's a broad spectrum of job
Mhm.
opportunities that can come about of students with a marketing major. What would be a piece of advice to help them prepare for any of these potential roles that they could be landing?
Yeah, the one thing that I would definitely say, and I kind of kick myself that I didn't do this because I feel a lot of professors told me to do it and I didn't do it. It's use your resources with connections with your professors.
Mm.
I think networking today is like one of the biggest things. You don't know, one relationship could mean that this person might know this person that could get you a job. I think the thing that I did once I graduated is I actually reached out to some people locally, and I found like my dream job is someone in my local area. And I asked him, I was like, can I please just shadow you? Can I please just see what you do from a day-to-day basis? Because it's one thing in college learning all of this stuff. It's another thing like actually getting into it and doing it. And I feel like doing that has been one of the most valuable things, because he's now 3 years later still a mentor that I can text if I have like any questions and things like that. So network, network, network. And that's not necessarily just like talking to people saying hi. It's just getting to know people and getting to know, just making that connection with them, because it could open up something down the road that you may not be aware of. So definitely I would say do that.
Yeah, and networking is what brought us here today, right?
Exactly.
A
Exactly.
simple LinkedIn post from me
Hmm.
that you engaged with, responded to, and here we are.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
that's sometimes just how things get done,
Hmm. Yep.
and it's better to have the network
Hmm.
and not need it than to not have it when you need it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. Well, yeah, no, it's great hearing about that career journey.
Mhm.
So we'll move in kind of the final stage of we'll call
Yeah.
this our discussion and
Yeah.
get into some career question quick hitters.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
let's say they're simple questions, but they may not require a long drawn out
Mhm.
response.
Yeah.
And you may have alluded to or talked about a little bit of this throughout our discussion thus far. But what is one thing college did not prepare you for that you've experienced in the working?
I would say actually starting from scratch from a business. Like when I graduated, I did not know how to start an LLC for my company. I had no idea. I had no idea, number one, how big entrepreneurship is. You are doing everything, and there's no person over your shoulder telling you what you can and can't do. Like, you have to do everything. And I think that was something, just starting my business, I didn't know the process of getting a business checking account and how the legalities of a business and how to be protected. I didn't know how to do anything. I felt like I was really lost. So I would definitely say try to get with someone that has done a business so you can help them, like they can walk you through it. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, you talked a little bit about this, but how do you think somebody that's about to enter the workforce or looking to maybe change a little bit of their career focus can stand out in the sea of resumes when they have little to no experience
Mhm.
in the field they're in, or like I said, if they're transitioning careers into the field they anticipate going into?
Yeah, I think for me, starting out, especially with my business, no, I had nothing to show people. So no one's going to want a logo for me or website for me if I have nothing to show them. So something that I did is I started making logos and websites for fake companies. I just would make up a name and make it seem like I have a client. So that way I actually had a portfolio to show to people like,
Mhm.
look, this isn't a real customer, but this is what I can do for people. And I think having that portfolio, again, I think that's how I stood out with my job is my boss said obviously the master's degree looked good, but he's like, I was really intrigued to see how you were doing this business and I was seeing like your social media work and stuff. So just trying to get some sort of portfolio or something, even if it's like one of my cousins owns a restaurant and I was able to do their social media for a month. So I had something to show
Mhm.
to them. So I would definitely say try to have something to show to someone.
Now we're about to step into some deep water here. Something very, we'll say topical and potentially controversial.
Hmm.
Um, how do you envision AI transforming the workforce and the industry in which you operate, we'll
Yeah.
say in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yes. I think AI is a humongous tool to use. I do not think it's something where you should use it to do everything. I have a lot of people comment to me saying AI is going to replace your web design job. Why are you doing it? In theory, that could happen, but like one of my social media clients or one of my website clients I'm doing right now, I'm using like AI and stuff to help build the website. It can't build the entire website from the back end, making sure everything's mapped correctly. It physically can't do that yet. So I
Mhm.
think don't use it as a tool. It's kind of like a more bougier or better Google.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's something that can help you, but I don't think it will completely take over certain positions if you are creative. I think there's a lot of things you could do, like it can generate logos and things like that. But if you're very, very creative, I don't think it's going to take your job. But use it as a tool. Don't rely on it for everything.
Yeah, and that's been, I think, a theme in a lot of people I have conversations regarding AI is
Mhm.
use it as a tool in the tool belt, but it's not going to solve all the problems,
Mm-mm.
right?
No.
You still need a person that's able to interpret, and like you said, the creativity
Yeah.
cannot be replaced,
Yeah.
right? You may have a baseline logo or some type of image
Mhm.
to start with, but it's those fine details and those
Mhm.
kind of creative expression pieces that allow it to not be the end all be all and to be maybe a starting point.
Exactly, and it's funny, last week, I had someone try to hack my company's website, my that I work for, and was able to use ChatGPT to like look at the code saying that like I caught it because I knew the part of the website wasn't working right. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? And and ChatGPT was agreeing. They're like, yes, something looks wrong in this code. And I was able to go in and stop it from happening. And I used it as a tool to stop it. I didn't rely on it. It wouldn't have caught it for me. I had to catch it myself. So using it as a tool to help you is essential. Yeah.
Awesome. And what would you say is the worst career advice you've ever received? And obviously, we don't need to know who it was from, but something that stands out as, you know what, I wish I never would have
Mhm.
took that to heart and
Yeah.
actually put that into practice.
Yeah. I've been working since I was 13 years old, and I worked at a position where I had a supervisor who was actually an adjunct at my college. And one of the things I first started out as I was actually a dental major because I was like, oh, I thought I would love this. I was terrible at it. It was not for me. And I knew I needed to change majors. And as I was changing my major, he's like, hey, I really care about you. And I don't think you should do business. And I was like, why do you think that? He's like, one of our past workers that I worked with works at Walmart now and he has a business degree. So unless you want to work to Walmart, I wouldn't switch to business. And that stuck with me for a very long time when I was in college. Like I was thinking, am I really doing is this a waste of my 4 years? Should I not be doing this? And I'm so happy that I listened to myself because I marketing and like doing my own business and stuff is what I was meant to do. Like I've never been happier and I feel like I'm really good at it. And I don't think I would have been happy or a good dentist at all. And it was hard coming from someone that I literally was he was like one of my mentors and bosses for like 10 years. So that's definitely probably the worst advice I've heard. So
There we go.
yeah.
All right. Do you have any final words of wisdom to share with to be graduates, those entering the workforce, or anyone that's considering any type of career move that would help to better or best position them for whatever that career move may be?
Yeah, I would say be patient. I think there's a lot of when you first graduate, you feel this sense of anxiety of like, I have to have a job right now, right now, right now. Or once you get a job, you think you have to stay there for the next 5 years or 10 years. And take it from me as someone who literally worked at my first job for a month and ended up quitting because it wasn't what I wanted. Being patient's a huge thing. And I think trying different things to seeing what you like. I never would have been a website designer if I didn't just try it and saying yes to it. So don't get discouraged either. I felt when I first got my master's degree, I was like, if I'm not making a job making $100,000, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And my job pays a lot less than that. So I think don't look at money as the factor of your job. Just get somewhere to get your bearings, to get used to the field and stuff. And you can always grow and progress as you go. So that's my advice for
There we
sure.
go. Be patient,
Uh,
everyone.
Be patient.
Be patient. It's not gonna all come all at once. Well, again, thank you, Danny, for
Yeah.
taking
Thank you for
time to
having me.
chat with me today and to
Mhm,
impart this wisdom and these thoughts, these
mhm,
comments from your own experiences.
mhm.
Before we finish up here, you want to tell everybody how they can engage with your socials for
Yeah.
your business, or how they can, look you up if they have questions for you.
Yeah.
You want to reach out directly?
Yeah. So I'm in Pittsburgh, but my family still lives in the West Liberty Wheeling area. So I'm working with a handful of clients in the Wheeling area. So d23digital.com is kind of my hub. I have all my social media stuff, my email, my contact, all that stuff. And I've actually I would love to be able to help someone if they're just looking to get some information or advice of how to do what I do. So d23digital.com, everyone. So yeah.
It's a mouthful sometimes,
It
right?
is.
You
It
cannot
is.
you say it and you're like, that's not the easiest thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, make sure
Yeah.
everybody checks that out.
Mhm,
And be sure continue to stay engaged
mhm,
with the podcast and everything like that.
mhm.
Danny, again, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for
And
having me.
make sure that you tune in for the next rendition of Classroom to Corner Office Career Talks with Chris.